questions coming in, so I
Good.
want to sort of wrapping up this section. There's one thing I want to talk in terms of reproductive technologies. I want to talk about IVF for just a second because I think it's important. I generally find people haven't thought about this super deeply, but I do want to make the distinction between you're talking about donor conception versus couples that are wrestling with IVF. Stephanie Connor's book goes into this topic. But it's different. And even when it comes to IVF in general for, let's say, a Christian couple that's struggling with fertility, the people were split about this issue. So I wanted to draw your attention to, in the resources section, I linked 2 articles of the Gospel Coalition, one from Andrew Walker, who writes at Public Discourse 2, and one from Wayne Grudem. Wayne Grudem's making the argument about IVF being permissible in some cases, whereas Andrew Walker says it's never permissible. So those are resources in terms of wrestling with that. I sort of lean over towards Wayne Grudem's article. I think he makes a good case. Would you agree or disagree with that? Where
So
are we on that
people
topic?
come up to me all the time and they're like, what about this? Can we do this? What if it's a surrogate, but we use our own egg and sperm? Well, can we do IVF if it's frozen, not fresh? And, can we, and I mean, there's all kinds of arrangements. Like right now, what Dave Rubin and his partner are doing is the children have the same biological mother. They have different birth mothers. They have different biological fathers. And they are going to be raised in the same family, right? You see how this is a game of mix and match, right? You can put sperm, egg, and womb together in so many different ways. So my answer, instead of trying to figure out, is this scenario okay? What about this? What about this? My answer is, if you use reproductive technologies, it cannot violate any child's right to life. It cannot violate any child's right to their mother and father. And it cannot violate any child's right to be born free and not bought and sold. Those are 3 fundamental child rights. And you have to use reproductive technologies in a way that do not violate any of those child rights. I would strongly suggest that means that you could not freeze children, okay? Because very often the freezing aspect is something that will violate their right to life. And because many of them don't leave the freezer, right? Right now we've got about 1 million embryos on ice.
Or they were conceived at the same time, and then one might be birthed much later, type of thing.
There's so many issues with it. So if you're going to use reproductive technologies in a way that don't violate any of those 3 rights, you are talking about using only the sperm, only the egg of the people whose body you intend to implant it in. You're using only fresh embryos, only the number of embryos you intend to immediately implant. You're never going to do any kind of genetic screening or selective reduction, any kind of discarding of non-viable embryos. You're not going to sex select for which one goes in. You're going to carry all the babies to term that you put in. And the scenario I just described to you is so rare because it's so cost prohibitive. There's a lot of clinics that really won't even take those clients because it's not good for business.
Yeah. Well, and like we were talking about before, I do know people that have done that, but it certainly is expensive, and it's certainly not what they want to do when you go in most cases.
Yeah.
They want to find the best one to sort out the genetic stuff.